Mr. Moore,
Here.
Mr. Mingus, Mr. Toller,
Here.
Ms. Richards, Mr. Westmoreland, Ms. Abrams, Mr. Duncan,
Here.
Ms. Simmons, Mr. Bush.
Here.
This time, we'd like to consider approval of change order number 1 for the electrical upgrades to the TASP interior renovation project for an amount of $59,902.45. We have the name Mr. Stoneman.
Move to adopt administration's recommendation.
Motion's been made to adopt recommendation. Do I have a
Second.
Second by Mr. Bush. Is there any discussion?
Couple questions, obviously. Once again, same question we had from the last one. We're being charged 15% from the sub
Yes, sir.
and 10% from the general,
Yes, sir.
and that's allowed by contract?
That's allowed by contract. Yeah, it's, so any work that the general does, he can charge 15% over it. Same for the subcontractor, and then any work that the subcontractor does, the contractor does 10% on top of his. Now, I don't think his 10% is on top of their overhead and profit too. It's not.
No, it's on top of just a direct cost.
Yeah, it's just direct cost.
But the 10 and 15 is correct?
Yes, sir.
And then the only credit I see on there is the 2,200. Is that within range?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, they gave us a credit for some of the, I believe it was the outlets and stuff that we were gonna replace. Because now it's like, I said, well, give us a credit on, just because they were just gonna replace the switches and the outlets itself, but now going back, because they have to rewire the stuff, we asked for a credit back on that because we're gonna be adding back like a new box and
Right.
some things.
And that's all the credit they gave us was the 2,000?
Yes, sir.
And then the last, under their, when they do a breakdown of their costs, the direct costs, in there they have indirect labor, and then of course overhead for indirect labor. But what is their, because I didn't see anything broken out as far as what is their indirect labor? You know what I'm talking about? I mean, I understand their labor cost. And then the 2 lines down from that would be the general expenses. I've never seen a category where they just put general expenses. Usually we pay for their cost, their materials, their labor, and then they do their overhead on top of that. But here, they're just adding in $1,600 as a general category with no explanation.
Can you see that on Mike?
I really don't know because I pulled it out of the group. Little small one. It's the summary page that has their key indicators.
Right, yes, that could be administrative, that could be like office, not necessarily on site, like preparing some middles or,
But wouldn't that be considered overhead? So why are we paying twice?
no, sir,
That's not overhead?
no, sir. Not if they're having to do like extra, like for a short circuit analysis or anything like that, that could be all indirect labor.
Introduce yourself.
I'm sorry, my name's Michael Terry, I'm an electrical engineer on the project.
Okay. So what about the general expenses? I mean, just correct me if I'm wrong, but, and I'm not trying to be difficult, I just want to be precise with this because this is public money. When a change order comes up, we pay the direct cost of the change order plus the agreed upon percentages of the the overhead, everything else is added on. So everything, as far as the materials list, has to be specific, the hours, the rates, everything. And usually you just don't have a general category there where it just has general expenses.
Could that general category, could it be identified?
We can, and I'm not disagreeing with you, sir, just the actual cost of the change order, the electrical portion, as far as what they were charging was in line. How they break it out sometimes is I can't explain either, but
Yeah.
it was in line with what the amount of work they had to do in the feeders, the conduit, the extra panels, the extra labor was in that, they was in line.
Right.
Because we did challenge some of it and got it reduced because they added some exterior scope to it that wasn't part of it.
Right.
That final number that they came back with was a number that we felt comfortable with as far as like what I thought it would cost whenever we did our analysis. Now, how they break this down, you're right, I can't explain that. I can go back and get some more paperwork on it for you later, but it's in line with what it should be.
Well, I just know we're about to do a lot of construction. We've been doing a lot of construction. And the devil's in these little details, but every dollar counts. You know, and if we set a precedent, we let them know that, you know, we're gonna look at this line by line.
So one of the things that we were talking about, Brett and I were talking about, and Frank and Pierre, I think the state has a breakdown of what they can and can't charge, or what they allow to charge. And I was bringing that up for us to discuss and make a recommendation that if we want to have something like that, then we incorporate that into our future contracts. It says, this is what you can charge for labor burden, this is what you can charge for, whatever, you know, just different line items and stuff. So that's something that right now, it's really not, it's a standard AIA contract, right? And there's certain things that they're allowed to with the change orders to charge. And anything, of course, anything that the contractor feels that, you know, he has to come out of pocket on to do this particular work, he's gonna do that, charge you. We've been charged for water cups and, you know, things like that before, because they're on the job site, it takes them X amount of days to do whatever, they're gonna have to provide this cost or whatever. I think something like that would probably be worth the discussion to kind of home in and really control those numbers in the future. I know we also talked about the percentages, that maybe we should probably analyze the percentages to see, you know, if this is where we're comfortable in leaving markups for the overhead profit, or if we want to adjust it.
Who does, not to interrupt you, but who does our legal, like, who oversees the legal side of the contracts?
For our standpoint, judicial review.
Okay.
Reviews our construction contracts if needed.
Of course, I'm not questioning Chris Moody at all, because he's a very competent attorney, but there are also construction attorneys too, right, that specialize in that type of stuff as far as, you know, we may want to consider that, especially going into a project where we're going to be spending millions and millions of dollars on projects, something specialized to hone into what those percentages and what's allowed in the contract and what, you know.
Yeah, I mean, just to be a little bit more open, more specific, I should say, about the cost. Because, I mean, I look at these things and I say myself, you know, because I serve my customers with a contract before we get started, because I want to make sure that we're on the same page.
Yes, sir.
And when I see things like this and there's no explanation, miscellaneous could be anything. And so if you identify a cost and you don't provide an explanation, and it stirs up my curiosity about why it is that we're paying it, because like Tom said, this is not our money. You know, every dime that we spend basically is concerned with.
Can we do like we did last time, where we approved the change order contingent on the fact to go back and address these issues to see if this is valid or not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. Yeah, we can get them to break that line item down. That one.
Yeah, I mean, because if it's legitimate, then there should be no problem identifying it, and I don't suspect that it's not. I just that I feel like I need to be held accountable myself for accepting
Because again, I mean,
costs
there's
that are
several-
that are not specified.
There's several costs if you really dig down into it. There's some line items in here that I agree with, and some that I'm like, oh, that's a lot cheaper than what I thought. So
Yeah,
it goes
and I
back
mean, you could,
forth. That's why you kind of got to look at it from a holistic standpoint, as far as doing your own takeoffs and coming up with a number, going, okay, yes, that's a number that's palatable. That's where they should be. Because how they break their stuff down is really like their internal workings, if you will.
But we can get that line item definitely.
Yeah, we're still not, but we're still not, We're still not looking at the total though, is to say, well, we think this job's okay price. It is still our job to audit
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
numbers, because we should be paying a change order, cost plus labor, materials plus labor. That's what we pay. You know, we don't pay a lot of, anyway,
Yes, sir,
not
understood.
gonna beat a dead horse, but.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm not saying if the change order is necessary that, you know, it's not fair to, you know, to submit a change order. I mean, you should.
Yes, sir.
You get extra costs, you should submit a change order. Just identify, you know, the cost that you're asking to be paid. You know, in other words, be a little bit more specific about it
Yes, sir, understood.
so that I can understand. And I mean, I understand construction costs, hidden costs. I understand it all. It happens every day. But I still have to explain it to my customers.
Understood.
Yeah.
Any other discussion?
Call for a vote.
Voting is open.
Yes.
Mr. Bush. Mr. Moore. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Moving on to B, consider approval of the low bid to re-roof Laranja Elementary and Laranja Middle Schools due to Hurricane Ida damage from Something Construction for an amount of $342,848.
So moved.
Mr. Steinbach. First, motion by Mr. Tom,
Second.
second by Mr. Brett. You have anything you need to say, Mr. Brett?
Just that, this is a new company, but, our architect firm has reviewed them, feel comfortable that they can do the work. Their price is the lowest bid, and we're excited about getting this job started.
Any discussion? Call for a vote.
Voting is open.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, me too.
Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
No public input?
I have some, I'd like to make a motion that when I leave, I get to take my sign with my name on it right quick. Cindy said I couldn't have it, do I have a second?
Denied.
No, it's Tangipahoa Parish School property.
The women wanna keep it, but we men can
You
pull
can,
together.
Randy,
and
you
make
can,
it happen.
Meeting adjourned.
Randy,